Hello, everyone. Let me begin by showing you a few drawings of our schoolgirls. They are learning, and I'm happy to share their artwork with you. So let's take a look at their drawings. What do you see? A farmer. As a class activity, we asked the girls to draw a farmer. And here is what they drew. Pretty good, isn't it? But if you've noticed, there's one thing common in all the drawings. To them, a farmer is only a male. Interestingly, none of them could think of their mothers or grandmothers as farmers. Is it because they have never seen a woman working on the field? No, not at all. Even in the minds of young girls, a farmer is always a male. No matter how involved women are and have been for centuries in the agrarian sector, their work tends to go unnoticed. Their contribution, however great, remains insignificant, undocumented, unpaid, and they remain invisible. I'm sure you all would agree with me on this. It is a common sight to see women working in the field, sowing, transplanting, harvesting, winnowing, and not to forget, they do all these while managing their homes and raising children. And yet, they are called invisible farmers. Despite the workload, women are paid less. In our village, for a day's farm work, men with all the frequent beady breaks charge rupees 250, and women get paid only 130. Such is the disparity. Do you know that today agriculture industry employs almost 100 million women, which means that without women workforce, agriculture sector would collapse. On the contrary, they still remain an invisible part of the industry. Why? Why is it so? After spending a lot of time with the farming community of our region, we realized that the major reason for their invisibility is lack of education, backed by gender inequality which exists at large in our country. Now, education. What does education mean? What is the purpose of education? Does it mean mugging up information and then regurgitating it on answer sheets? Or studying just to pass exams, exams after exams, and then landing up in jobs which is remotely connected to the curriculum? How can education benefit village children who don't even complete their high school? What should be taught to them that would transform them into contributors? My name is Ashita Nath. I co-founded the Good Harvest School, an agriculture-based primary school for girls in Uttar Pradesh. After having worked in the national capital for 8 years, my husband and I decided to quit and do something more meaningful. With a plan to pursue farming, we purchased a land in Unnao in the year 2013. While the region is entirely dependent on agriculture, farmers prefer growing just one crop a year. Due to lack of returns, they cut down trees, sell their land or parts of it whenever they need money, and find odd jobs in the nearby towns and cities. With our hopes high, we set out on a journey to help the food growers with a scientific and systemized approach to farming. But they were reluctant to try sustainable agriculture practices. And we realized in 3 years' time that they were a hard nut to crack. So we decided to shift our focus to the younger generation, but found a similar mindset in them too. Interacting with the boys in the village, we found out that most of them don't want to get their hands dirty. Farming is the last thing on their mind. They would rather play games on their phones, update WhatsApp pictures, forward messages, or watch pirated movies. They aspire to have jobs in towns and cities. Men are tired of farming. Boys are migrating to cities. Then that leaves the girls to look after their cows and crops. But with lack of education, lack of management skills, how can they do a good job? Girls have never been taught to be independent and critical thinkers. They have not been equipped with livelihood and problem solving skills. How can they sustain farming? So, to embrace the girls and give them a safe and nurturing environment and equal educational opportunities, we opened our farm to an all girls agriculture based primary school, which formally began in September 2016 with limited resources and little investment. And since then, we have grown from a small family of 6 to a big family of 50. Mamta, a 12-year-old, along with her 3 sisters, was denied education by her parents. In trying to have a son, however, 5 daughters were born to them. Mamta, being the second eldest, usually stayed home to look after her younger siblings and a cow. After much convincing, her father agreed to send 2 of her younger sisters to the school, but Mamta stayed back to do house chores. For her sisters, it was the first time in any school, and they loved it. When Mamta used to hear school stories, she couldn't resist and urged her father to allow her for the school as well. It wasn't easy for her. She kept missing school whenever her parents wanted her home. But her persistence and resilience paid off. Today, Mamta recognizes herself as a valued person whose opinion matters. She can read Hindi, and her favorite subject is mathematics. She is actively involved in agriculture. You will be surprised to know that Mamta, along with her classmates, has grown mushrooms last year successfully. In fact, they had mushrooms for the first time. All our girls enjoy growing food together like a true community. They have grown broccoli, kohlrabis, purple cabbage, salad leaves, along with many other different local vegetables and crops. Moreover, learning subjects like mathematics, language, science, art, and many other life skills through agriculture is interactive, engaging, and substantial. The farming field is our biggest classroom where nature is the teacher. Let me give you an illustration from our school. We did a radish crop in the winters. As a group activity, the girls prepared the land, selected the seed, and sowed, which involved basic counting, measuring area and space between the seeds. Irrigation technique taught them about water conservation. They learned about the soil health and how to increase its fertility naturally. When the crop was ready, they distributed it, which involved the virtue of sharing, the principle of fair share, and mathematics. Not only this, they learned some management principles too: optimum utilization of resources, working with limited funds, sales, and marketing. And the best part, they learned so many different subjects without even opening a textbook. Our aim is to equip our girls with the knowledge and the skills to grow food, not just for themselves, for others. Food which is safe and healthy, so that it provides them an opportunity to live in dignity, free from hunger, food insecurity, malnutrition. We believe agriculture should be a part of every school curriculum. And why? Agriculture covers a lot of subjects, and learning in a real setting makes much more sense rather than sitting inside a classroom all day filling up minds with information. It is important for children to know the joy of growing food and to experience the challenges. Visiting the farms and meeting farmers would help them to appreciate the people who make it possible for them to have food 3 times a day. It is not just enough to express our disappointments over the news of farmer suicides and then forget about them. Meeting the farmers would help them to understand the crisis and the distress they face every day of their life. At the Good Harvest School, our mission is to provide high quality education focused on holistic development. so that our girls can go on to become change makers by breaking the vicious cycle of poverty, illiteracy, gender inequality, and early marriage. And thus, they would no longer be invisible but visible and contribute to nation's transformation. Why should you and I care? If at all women in agriculture are struggling for an identity, what's the big deal about it? If farmers are committing suicides, why should it bother us? Well, whether you're a student or a professional, work in a corporate or run your own business, have a small family or large, it does matter to us. To put it in the words of Tierra Kessler, an industry that feeds you is an industry worth fighting for. Thank you.